back to Jacob's Toys 5-minute figure reviews. Please like, share, subscribe and all of those things. All support to the channel is very much appreciated. So we are taking a look at Marvel Legends, X-Men, Age of Apocalypse, Wave 2, ICEMAN, aka Bobby Drake. Really excited for this one of my most anticipated figures of the wave, so let's get straight into it. So obviously in the box we get the figure itself. We also get these two additional kind of clawed hands, which are really cool and similar to the type of hands that we saw in the comic book. He also comes with a Build-A-Figure piece, which is the right arm and the right closed fist of Colossus. But I will get into the Colossus Build-A-Figure in a later video, so I'll put them aside for now. So here we go, Bobby Drake, Iceman. Now this is a figure that I was really hoping would be in this second wave. I was really disappointed that he wasn't in the first wave, and they have done this figure real justice. So the translucent kind of reflective blue is really nice, really looks like ice, even has that kind of sheen. The detail they put into the sculpt, the kind of like the more angled edges, as well as the kind of the frosting that they put on the wrists, etc., and the shoulders there are all really nice touches. There's also like a little bit of raised ice here as well. There's the 8 ice backpack, which is actually attached to the figure, which I was surprised about, but not in any way disappointed. And then even down to his feet here look quite angular and like ice, I suppose. I mean, they've really done really well with this sculpt. Not disappointed at all. It's probably one of my favourite ICEMAN figures that they've released to date. It's just a shame that obviously the Age of Apocalypse version has like his mouth covered over as if he's like wearing a mask. Otherwise he could have easily doubled up as Iceman in any X-Men collection, but obviously that look on his face is very familiar with the Age of Apocalypse comics. So these clawed hands are similar to those that we've seen on symbiotes and carnages, etc. before, but obviously this time cast in that kind of translucent blue. They're a perfect hand for this particular version of Bobby Drake, so not complaining that they've reused those parts at all. I always find that these kind of translucent characters are a little bit more wobbly, should I say, when it comes to posing. The joints seem to kind of get a little bit more wobbly quicker, so having a little bit of trouble standing him up initially, but these are not things that can't be fixed at a later date. So yeah, what's interesting about the character in the comic books is that he's obviously part of Magneto's X-Men, and Magneto really pushes him to kind of utilise his power and kind of become the best version of Iceman that he can be. So it's argued that this is the kind of the best version of Iceman that there is, in regards to obviously being able to use his powers. Now I'm not going to spoil it and tell you how he finishes up in the comic books, but it's definitely worth reading. And I'm hoping we get a character in Wave 3 that is linked very closely to that. If you know who I'm talking about, then drop it in the comments. So looking at the previous versions, here is the Iceman from the X-Men wave. And he's got the same hands here, they're the same mould. Obviously his back piece does clip off, so that's what I thought was going to happen with this version, but it's not. The back piece is actually attached to the figure, but he looks a lot thinner. You can see here he's done on a thinner buck, whereas the Age of Apocalypse is a lot thicker. And this is the more recent version of Iceman that we got. However, I did paint him, I did give him a bit of a dry brush, and there are pictures on my Instagram of the process I did to do that, just because I really wasn't happy with the kind of pearlescent version. But these are the 3 Icemen that I have in my collection. I have got a couple of customs as well, but these are the 3 kind of store-bought, apart from obviously the paint job, versions of Iceman that I have, and they all look completely different, which is really cool. It shows 3 very different stages in Iceman's kind of life in the different comic books, and it's good to have 3 different versions. But let's get rid of those 2 for a little while and just focus a little bit more on this guy and just kind of get him into a pose. So yeah, he was on the top of a lot of people's lists when they were talking about an Age of Apocalypse wave. A lot of people were asking for an Iceman figure, and when they announced that Wave 2 was coming, a lot of people guessed that this one would be included. And he does not disappoint whatsoever. Now, as I said, he is translucent, so I'm going to grab one of my lights and see how he looks. So if I get a light, I'm just going to move this light around a little bit, and then I'm going to grab a blue like Lume Cube light and just have a look at what that translucent blue looks like. But yeah, definitely pick him up, you will not be disappointed. And I suppose he would double up as a standard Iceman if you haven't got an Iceman in your collection. There you go, look at that, you can see right through it. Now the plastic itself is thicker than I thought, so obviously if you're lighting him up from the bottom, you can see that his head and shoulders are still quite dark, but if you're lighting him up from the back, that light has to be quite close to actually blur all the way through. but the translucence is all there. And one thing I will say is you don't really notice the peg holes. You don't really notice the peg holes because of the way that the figure is built and because of that translucent blue as well as the shading. But he's just a really cool figure. Definitely one of my favourites in Wave 2 without a doubt. Please do like, share, subscribe and all of those things, and I'll catch you soon. Oh, yeah.